Hi, in this video we're going to compare and order decimals and fractions. Let's get started. And we're going to do this with examples. This is our first example. We're going to order these numbers, decimals and fractions, from the least to the greatest. Now we're going to do this following a series of steps. The first step is to change the fractions or mixed numbers to decimals. So here we have 5.33, 4.89. We need to change 6 whole number 3 over 10 into a decimal and 5 whole number 88 over 100 into a decimal. So let's go do that. 6 whole number 3 over 10 will give you 6.3 as a decimal. I believe you know how to change fractions or mixed numbers into decimals now. And 5 whole number 88 over 100 will give you 5.88 as a decimal. So now that we have all our numbers as decimals, now we can go ahead to the second step. We are to write all these decimals in the place value chart. So here we have 5.33 followed by 4.89 and then 6.3 and then 5.88. So we go ahead to the next step. We move on to the next step. Find the first column with digits and select the list digits. Now the first column with digits is the ones column. What's the list digits in the ones column? We have 5, 4, 6, 5. The list digits is 4. So that means this decimal is the least decimal. So let's write it out. Remember, we are ordering from least to the greatest, 4.89. Okay, you've selected that. We should actually cross it out so it doesn't affect other comparisons. The next thing we have to do is to repeat the process all over again. So we'll go back to the ones place. What digits is the least digits? Here we have 2 5s. So just circle them. Because we can't choose one now, we need to go to the next column to know which of the two we need to choose. So we'll go to the 10th column. We'll have to compare 3 attached to this 5 and 8 attached to this 5. Between 3 and 8, which is less, 3. So that means this decimal right here is the next decimal to be written, 5.33. Then you cross it off and deal with the rest. We are left with 6 and 5 here. Definitely 5 is less than 6, so this decimal is the next to be written, 5.88, and then the greatest will be 6.3. Okay, so that's how we go about it. Let's go to the next example. Okay, so you can pause the video here, get your pen and paper out or your marker and whiteboard and compare these decimals and fractions. Remember to follow the steps, okay? Welcome back. So remember, the first step is to change your fractions into decimals or your mixed numbers into decimals. Now, one whole number 1 over 4 will give you 1.25 as a decimal. You should know how to do that by now, changing fractions or mixed numbers like this into decimals. And this one whole number 23 over 100 will give you 1.23 as a decimal. Okay, so let's go to the next step, which is to write our decimals in the place value chart. We have 1.8 here, we have 1.25 here, we have 1.2 here, and we have 1.23 here. Interesting. Okay, so you look at the first column with digits, and that's the ones column, but in this ones column, all the digits here are ones, so we cannot compare anything because they all have the same value. We move on to the next column. In the 10th column, we have different digits, so we can actually compare. But since we still have a little of that here too, because 2 is less than 8, but we have 3 2s, so we can't actually choose one. We need to go to the next column, the 100th column. Now in the hundreds column, we have just 2 digits and the other spaces are blank. When you have blank spaces like this and you really want to compare, please just put a 0 there. 0 and 0. So it's easy to compare now. Okay, so what's the least digits? That's glaring. 0 is the least digits, but we have 2 zeros. So we need to choose 1. So we need to choose 1 from this or this. Now, when you come into a problem like this, what you need to do is to retrace your step. You then go back to the tens column, the previous column. Here you have 8 and you have 2. Which is less? 2. Okay, or you can look at it wholly. You have 80 here, you have 20 here, which is less? 20. Okay, or 20. So the least decimal, looking at it wholesomely, will be 1.20. So you write that down, 1.20 if you like, or if you want to leave the 0 out, it's the same thing. So you cross this out. Okay, so what are we left with? You can look at it wholesomely to compare. Here you have 1.80, 1.25, and 1.23. So what should follow? 1.23. So we'll put that here, 1.23. You cross this out. You're left with 1.80 or 1.80 and 1.25. What follows? 1.25. And the greatest decimal will be 1.8. I hope you got this right. Okay, kudos to everyone who got it right. Okay, so let's see one more example to try out. So please order these decimals and fractions from the least to the greatest. Pause the video and come back when you're done. Welcome back. All right, so you know the drill. We change this to a decimal. That will be 0.351. This is the same thing as 0.03. This is 0.65, and this would give you 0.39. So we go next to the next step. Here we have 0.351. We have 0.03. We have 0.65, and the last decimal 0.39. The first column with digits is the ones column, but we all have zeros. We can't do any comparison here. We'll move on to the tens column. The least digit here is 0, so we have our least decimal 0.03. We write that out, 0.03, cross it out and compare the rest. The least digit here would be 3, but we have 2 sets of 3, this and this. So we need to go to the next column to see which of these 2 we're going to choose. We have 5 here, we have 9 here. So which of them are we choosing? The very first decimal here. So that would be 0.351 because 5 is less than 9. And remember, we are ordering from the least to the greatest. So we cross this out and then we move on. We're left with 6 and 3, which is less, 3. 0.39 will be the next decimal, and we end with the greatest decimal, 0.65. And that's how you order decimals and fractions from the least to the greatest. You use the same process to order from the greatest to the least too. If you want to order from the greatest to the least, you just need to rearrange this, start with the greatest number and end with the least decimal. Okay, thanks for watching. Have a wonderful time.